Hello and welcome to This Is Jimmy. Why is the PS3 on a ticking time bomb?
Oh my God, Sony, what are you doing? Do you not care about game preservation? So I don't know if you guys have heard. If you watch the channel PS Ready, you've heard this for sure. But Sony is shutting down the stores for the PSP, the PS3, and the PS Vita this summer.
Yeah, which is really interesting because they have kind of just solidified their stance in backwards compatibility, which is practically not there for the last gen or this gen for that matter. So what does this mean? Like, what are your general thoughts on this?
Okay, so what this really means for gamers, you know, us, is you're going to be able to, after the store shuts down, you'll still be able to download anything you purchased, right? And you'll still be able to play your disc-based games, even if they need patches. You'll still be able to download those. But you will not be able to buy any new games or any new DLC after the effective shutdown dates, which for the Vita specifically, very egregious because I actually know of a few developers who were making games for the Vita that were set to come out in like August or September, and those are just canceled now.
Wait, Sony, this late in?
Yeah, Sony didn't tell them until they announced it, I think yesterday. That's when all the developers found out at the same time that the store was shutting down. So multiple Vita games were in development.
Now, obviously, this has been rumor mill for a while, though, at least for the past couple of weeks. And there is a little bit of a deadline here, which is kind of making people scramble for some solutions, especially if you are into digital games or at least having that kind of stored. So people are talking about jailbreaking right now, especially on the PS3. I had my Vita jailbroken. I had my Vita jailbroken to run a virtual system of the PSP, so I can play all of my ROMs on that. But it's still kind of a mixed bag for me, just because that's a lot of work for like even the average consumer to do, which is why I think that, especially for that PS3 and 360 era, I think I very much prefer the Xbox side of things for that stuff. Even though I'm a huge Sony fan and I've really played the PS3 way more than the 360.
As did I.
I appreciate their attention to the backwards compatibility and just keeping that library of games compatible with their new consoles.
Yeah, and Sony does have PS Now, right? Everyone likes to mention PS Now, that you can stream PS3 games straight to your PS5 or your PS4, but it doesn't work very well, and the amount of games on there is completely random. Like, they have Resistance 3, but I'm fairly certain they still don't have Resistance 2 or 1. Like, it's totally just random what games actually show up on PS Now. And the streaming, I heard there's like pretty bad latency on there. That's not a great solution, that especially when you compare it to what Xbox has going on the Series X, which is compatibility all the way back to the original Xbox. It's embarrassing. As you work your way up, you get more benefits, but at the end of the day, if you have an Xbox One, that's just like you have a general Xbox that can go all the way back to the original, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's crazy because, like, I think when we've talked to the Microsoft guys before, they put in millions and millions and millions of dollars into just making sure that back compat works for their family of games that their fans know and love. And with Sony, there are a lot more titles that I want to see that I love from the PS3, PS2 era especially, but I just can't play them on my newer gen consoles, and it is actually frustrating as a Sony fan.
Right, and the problem is Sony used to have this excuse they could always fall back on, where they'd be like, man, we made it way too hard to develop for the PS3, so it's impossible for us to emulate it on the PS4 or even PS5. That cell architecture is just way too strong, man. But now some kids in their basement have a like PS3 emulator running on computer. They got multiplayer games running. I thought they were having trouble with Uncharted, but Austin let me know that they finally got that working. So like, if these modders or like hackers or whatever they want to be called are figuring it out, I think Sony can really just commit the money to figure out how to get PS3 emulation going on the PS5.
So going back to the point of buying these used consoles in 2021. So recently we went to GameStop to try to find used consoles, specifically the PS3 and the Xbox 360, only to find out that they actually don't sell them anymore, and we had to go on eBay and dish out about $150 each for,
For this?
Yeah, for this.
I mean, Uncharted 3 is pretty good.
Right. Well, I mean, you know, like the games, controller, everything, full sets and whatnot. But it got us thinking a little bit about whether or not you should buy a PS3 or Xbox 360 in 2021.
But as for the Xbox 360, I'm not exactly sure on if you really need to go out and buy it, because unlike Sony, Microsoft is putting in the work here to make sure that these stores essentially have to stay open. Because as long as they have this backwards compatibility as a cycle keeping going on every new console, you need to keep those storefronts up and available with games so you can keep buying them and downloading
Right,
them.
and then they also do things on the newer consoles like add in auto HDR, upscaling, and whatnot to keep the experience fresh and maybe have your nostalgia goggles be as you remember, right?
One of the cool things they're doing with the games that are coming to Game Pass is they're going back and adding in functionality.
Right.
So like the Evil Within, which is an old game at this point. I think it's like a launch title for the PS4 and Xbox One. If you go play that game now on Game Pass on your Series X or Series S, they've added in a first-person mode. They've added in a 60 frames per second mode. Fallout 76 and Fallout 4 both got 60 frames modes. So Xbox is just really committing here to making sure that if you go back and play your favorite games, not only will they work well, they'll work better than they did on the old consoles. And I love that. That is awesome.
Yeah, the Xbox ecosystem is looking way, way, way better. Almost to the point where there's no incentive to buy an Xbox 360 in 2021. Xbox 360 we might have overpaid a little bit, but those PS3 prices are definitely going up a little more. And I know we talked about this before we started recording, but PS Vita prices and PS TV prices are going way, way up.
Yeah, because if you can figure out how to hack your Vita, you've got one of the best emulating machines out there. I know it doesn't have 4 triggers. That's the big issue with the Vita, but you get close enough, and there is that back touchpad functionality. And if you're emulating stuff like Game Boy Advance, you don't need 4 triggers. You need 2 triggers, and that's exactly what the Vita has. So I remember when I hacked it, the game that you used was Hot Shots Golf.
Yes.
You had to like install this thing on your Vita memory card and you use Hot Shots Golf to reboot into the homebrew mode. It was like a whole thing, but
your overpriced
it was awesome.
Vita memory card that costs like $100 for like a 32 gigabyte model.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I will say that going on to the PS TV, which is just a PS Vita without a screen that you can plug into your TV. When Austin was hunting around for used consoles the other day, we were looking at PS TV prices in box for about $250 to $300.
I'm hanging on to mine. Yeah. I have one. I remember they were trying to make that like a streaming machine, right? Like they wanted people to watch Netflix on it, but it's still, I'm pretty sure, only has 720p output. I mean, the utility's there because it's a PSP you can plug into your TV.
Right.
Because you can play also any PS1 game that you could download to your Vita would work on the PS TV. So that's a good console to have. If you have one, I would just hang on to it.
Yeah, now full disclosure, we don't know if these prices are gonna jump up in price anymore. Only time will tell. And for the clock, the deadline on the PSN store going down, you can still re-download games that you already had, I think. There are a few other caveats too. We'll include the link in the description. But all of this to say that I think you might as well just get a PS3 if you've been thinking about playing a bunch of these games, because who knows how much these things could be later, especially with the store going down and without having the ability to buy anything online.
You should never sell your consoles if you don't have to. Like, obviously, extenuating circumstances come up. People need quick cash. But if you can hang on to this stuff, it'll dip in value initially, but then it always goes back up as soon as these things go out of production or they have some viable reason to exist. And because Sony keeps killing off their stores, they keep giving their old consoles reasons to exist. It's like a double-edged sword there.
Yeah.
And, dude, Nintendo did a similar thing with the Wii, where they had WiiWare, they had Virtual Console, and they said, hey, we're shutting down the store. You'll be able to download your games for the foreseeable future. Everything's good. And then one day out of nowhere, they just decided that, no, we're going to turn off the re-download functionality because I'm sure it costs more for them to keep it running than obviously they were making on it because they couldn't sell games.
Because we know Big Daddy Sony is the good guy, right?
Yeah.
You know, they're gonna keep their stores open they're gonna keep their servers on forever, right?
I hope so. I hope it takes a long time for them to shut down these servers because I have so many digital PS3 games.
I have literally zero expectations or hope, but I want them to keep them up. But who's to say if that'll actually be the case? Thank you very much for watching this episode of This Is. If you like the video, definitely click on that thumbs up button, hit that ding-a-ling, ring-a-ling, ding-a-ling, ring-a-ling the ding-a-ling bell, ring-a-ling the ding-a-ling bell, ding-a-ling the ring-a-ling bell, and also, Jimmy, is now hosting a wonderful channel that does a lot of PlayStation content that you guys should definitely check out.
Yeah, some would say it's exclusively PlayStation content. It's called PS Ready. We do multiple videos a week, and we'll have the latest one linked here in the end screen. But yeah, if you're a PlayStation gamer, you want to know what's going on in that ecosystem, head over to that channel, hit the subscribe button, and ring the notification bell. I don't say this. Ring a ding.
Ring-a-ling the ding-a-ling bell. I got it.
All right, guys, let us know what you think of this video down in the comments, and hopefully Ken and I will see you in a future video. We don't know anymore. There's no plan here at all.
There's literally zero plan.